This NFL Draft Props edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Play their fantasy pick 'em for a chance to win 100x in NBA, MLB, NHL, college basketball, and more. Sign up today using promo code SGPN to get a 100% deposit match. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com. Use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today.
What's up, guys? This is Carson Steele. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone from the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, second the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer? Dog.
Yeah, you tripped me up there with the From the Sports Gambling Podcast.
Yes,
that was awesome. I think in that 2,000 times that's the first time it tripped up my brain.
Yeah, every once in a while I mix it up a little bit there, Ryan.
Stir the pot.
Yeah, well, I'm just a million plates spinning. We got an awesome show coming up. We got we're going to be diving into the NFL draft. We're going to close it out with some best bets for tomorrow's action, aka Tuesday. Of course, we're live over on youtube.com/sports gambling podcasts. What's happening, Kramer?
I've head first right back into football.
Oh, okay.
Got greater than one slow drafts going, forcing me to look at the players, looking at the rookies. You mentioned this a couple days ago. I walked into the office and just said Trey Benson, first running back selected, plus 400.
Yes.
So I'm back in we know ball mode. It's football time. I don't know what else is there to say. We have two more college basketball games.
Yeah, Final Four podcast coming up later on this week. We got a special guest for that. You're not going to want to miss that episode. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then maybe do a little check-in NBA with the NBA guys. But fun time of the year as we count down to the NFL draft. And of course, if you want to get down on some custom bets, you can do it over at cut.com. That's KUTT.com. Use the promo code SGPN. Get your 10% deposit bonus. The ultimate put your money where your mouth is platform. They got you covered. And again, since you're going head to head, it means reduced juice, reduced vig, great price. You cannot beat the price on these picks. And this is perfect for the NFL draft because you go, oh, hey, I think, more offensive linemen are going to be drafted than receivers in the first round. You head over to Cut, you can get that bet listed, and hopefully you can get the action against you. But again, the ultimate put your money where your mouth is platform. I had some people questioning whether or not Caleb Williams was going to go number 1 in the draft there. And so again, I should have listed it over on Cut. Should have locked that up early. Should have got the best price. But you can do it all over on Cut. You can download the app or go to KUTT.com. Promo code SGPN. Joining us on the line, Ryan, a very special guest from our lads scouting services. Specializes in evaluation. Joining us, David Sy. What's happening, David?
Fellas, how we doing? I'm literally burning out the midnight oil out here in New Jersey. Approaching midnight. Got a little bit of a cold right now, but for you guys, I'm ready to rock and talk draft with you.
You just got to channel that Dan Hurley and just realize whatever you're doing, he's doing more. So let's go draft season.
Let's go.
Playing through the pain. Appreciate that. Appreciate you hopping on late night. Of course, Kramer's a fellow Jersey native.
Okay.
I'm originally from outside Philly, so we know what it's like to be fellow East Coast guys. So yeah, let's just start real quick. You sent over a bunch of great draft takes.
I don't want to pull back the curtain, but
sure.
I immediately was like, "Oh, this is excellent. This is exactly what I need. This is
High
let me have some affirmation, some confirmation bias here. Let me feel smart for a second."
Well, yeah, let's and because I would love you sent over a whole list of great hot takes, some not so hot, maybe some pretty hot. We're gonna go through them because it's great to get this from a legit scout like yourself. But just before we hop in, a little background on how you got into scouting, how you're coming up with these takes for the NFL draft, your work with our lads. Just yeah, give us a little background, David, before we hop in and talk NFL draft.
Yeah, it's a funny story. I reflect on it. I've been with our lads for about 11 years now, which it's crazy how fast that's gone. About 11 years ago, I was sitting across from Dave Gettleman when he was.
Oh, I think we just lost you, David. You might be muted. What an amazing way for it to cut out too, with the
cut right on Dave Gettleman.
This is the ultimate cliffhanger. I feel like I'm at the point in the movie. We just watched The Sopranos. The screen just went black, and I'm like, well, wait, what just happened? I need to know more. Let's see here.
Why don't we put him in the waiting room? We'll come back to him in just a second once we get the audio figured.
Yeah, Josh can work with you in the back there. Yeah, no. Now I really need to know what the rest of the sentence is.
Yeah, I mean, a great cliffhanger. Dave Gettleman, of course. Ryan, was he not the one who spoke about having computer guys? Was that not his phrase?
Yeah, no, he definitely didn't. I mean, that was the most famous part of Dave Gettleman not working with the Giants anymore was how they made a full documentary of the technology upgrade.
Well, yeah,
they made a Hard Knocks on upgrading the draft room from something that involved the magnets and whiteboards and moving to a place where they had computer screens. All right, here we go.
All right,
guys, you got me?
us.
Oh,
yep.
There we go. You're
there
back.
You go. Cut out.
Sorry about that. No idea.
No worries. We were doing a little choose your own adventure to figure out where this was going to go.
Yeah. So great cliffhanger. You said a few years ago you were sitting across Dave Gettleman. What happened then?
Tried to get an internship with the Giants back then, got turned down, and then I had to go get a big boy job and really tough industry to break into. I found our lads as I was working in finance. Not the sexiest job in the world, but I was a broker and working for our lads on the side. I'm not sure how many scouts in the industry could say they were doing that. Daytime broker, nighttime scout for a scouting service has been around for a really long time. And I got to learn under Dan Shanka, who was in the league with the Eagles and the Chiefs for a very long time. And every year it's just gotten a little bit more responsibility. I started off literally inserting names into the college depth charts of players in the ACC, height, weight, hometown, and just worked my way up to a point where we were part of the East-West Shrine staff for a few years, and now I'm one of their lead scouts there. And it's just, it's been a fun ride. It's been humbling at the same time, but can't wait to see what the future holds for us.
So yeah, let me just say it for you. Screw Dave Gettleman. I'm wearing the Giants sweatshirt here. I'll stand with you.
Well, we were just talking about Dave Gettleman and his quote 4 years ago. I looked it up. Gettleman ready to embrace analytics. Quote, we've hired 4 computer folks. So not really. And that's 2019. So not really ahead of the game when it comes to advanced scouting, advanced analytics, but sounds like you found a good home there over at our lads. Did you go to the combine, David? Were you there checking things out, or were you getting reports from the combine? What have you done scouting this class so far?
We had boots on the ground at the combine. I was at the Senior Bowl this year. I had to pick one of the two, and I get a little bit more out of watching actual football practice and guys with the pads on. The drills I actually prefer in some ways, getting some of the information where I can sit in front of my computer and watch some of the stuff online, because it's not as much football. It's more about information out there. But the scouting process for me, it starts every June. Just getting a lot of data, a lot of information on these guys, background information, initial film looks over summer. And then we just pound the tape from September through March, just nonstop. It's an everyday thing, no matter what. And we have a staff that we go back and forth with, agreements, disagreements. So it's not just a one-man show, which I think is really important in scouting, because we all have some confirmation bias, as you said earlier, that you do need to kind of get past at some point. And so, we just sent in our final grades and stacks to the printer, and our Lads draft guide, the oldest one in the business, will be printed and sent out on April 8th. So that's our pride right there.
Yeah, I got no biases. Go Birds. Completely unbiased in my analysis. Well, let's just stop. We got to start at the top of the board. Caleb Williams, it's all but assured now that he is the number 1 pick overall, going to the Chicago Bears. No shenanigans, no chicanery. You're predicting. I'm assuming you're on Caleb Williams going number 1 overall, right?
Yeah, and what solidified that was I'm watching the USC Pro Day, and I see someone in Bears apparel on the sidelines. I'm like, who is that? Is that a coach? Is that a scout? Oh no, that's the wide receiver they just traded for.
Yeah, that was when the wide receivers started showing up. That's when all right. If you're a wide receiver, you're not going to a pro day if you're not gonna.
I've never seen it in my life.
Yeah, an old guy too, Keenan Allen. I mean, Keenan Allen, not exactly the kind of guy who's I remember what Michael Strahan did that one year. Old guys don't like working in the off season. So.
No, only if they have to. Now, the narrative around Caleb is, great athlete, very elusive in the pocket, maybe Patrick Mahomes 2.0, crazy ceiling. But then the detractors, and there's always gonna be people that pick him apart. It's, hey, is he tough? Okay, he was crying in the game. He has a pink phone case. Have you heard? I mean, to me, it just sounds like talk radio stuff, but have you actually heard from people inside the league any sort of those actual concerns, or is that more a talk radio thing?
I do think here's the thing. You're never going to find a perfect quarterback prospect, whether it's on or off the field. And because this process is blown up, I mean, even in my 10 years, this market of draft evaluation and scouting and websites and media, it's blown up. I mean, tenfold since 2011. Yeah. And because of that, there's just so much information.
We lost you again.
All right, David might cut out again. I don't know, Josh. Maybe maybe we can check it out, see what's causing the breakups there. But Ryan, where I think we got started. We'll come back to it. Perfect time. Underdog Fantasy. If you haven't signed up over on Underdog Fantasy, make sure you do. UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. Get you the 100% deposit match up to $100. I tweeted out my winner from the Elite Eight. The college basketball pick'em have been treating us really great. If you're watching on YouTube, we have Kyle Filipowski taking his lower points, rebounds, and assists. Has just been a gold mine. Very unfortunate that he's not going to be moving on. We have no more opportunities, Ryan, to fade Kyle Filipowski points, rebounds, and assists. But of course, go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. Get in over there if you haven't already. Great stuff. All right, David, back with us. Little mic trouble, but hey, much like Caleb Williams, you're gonna have your issues. You're gonna play through them. So
I have no idea what's going on, fellas. You hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
we
got
so
you.
I'm just gonna use the computer mic now. I don't know what's wrong with my mic, but I trust.
No worries.
All good, man. But yeah, so Caleb Williams, the detractors, the negative stuff. Have you heard anything really that negative from trusted people inside the NFL, and what is your analysis on Caleb Williams?
Just that he's a different cat. That's the only thing that I've heard, and that doesn't bother me. Some of the old school scouts, we could bring up that Dave Gettleman story, that joke that you guys talked about with the computer guys, the analytics, being late to buy into the new way of doing things. And I just think kids growing up now, it's different than what we're used to, right? I mean, I'm 38 years old, and these kids coming out, I mean, it's a completely different lifestyle, a completely different upbringing. Whether he paints his nails, has a pink cell phone, cries to his mom in the stands, it shows emotion. It shows that he cares, and he shows that he is his own unique brand, and that's the way the world works now, whether we agree with it or not. So, like I was saying before, I cut out for the second time. I guess my third time, I'm going to be booted for good here.
We got you.
there is no perfect quarterback prospect. You're going to find body type issues, arm strength issues, mental issues when processing from the pocket, and maybe even some off-field concerns. But has Caleb Williams ever been in trouble? Nope. Has he ever had a coach throw him under the bus? Nope. This is a guy that worked his way up from a backup to Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, won a Heisman in 2022, and just simply makes plays that essentially no other prospect has ever made. So are there issues I have with ball security? Absolutely.
Yeah,
do I think he needs to get away from the home run ball and learn how to take the singles and doubles when they're there? Absolutely. But again, this is a gamble worth taking. And if you put the right system around him, which Chicago has done with personnel, coaching, offensive line help, which he had none of at USC this past year, you have to think that, all the ducks are lined up, and now it's just going to come down to full cohesion from all levels.
And honestly, if you watch his tape in the context of him trying to win a game, like him understanding he has no defense and he realizes he's just trying to win games, some of those mistakes are a little bit more explainable. And like, you can even have some level of compassion where he's like, oh, okay, he realizes his defense isn't going to make a single stop. Yeah. So he's not taking the single because he needs the home run.
Yeah, he's swinging for the fences every
not
play.
Great for your NFL tape, but awesome for a teammate, I guess. And to give the draft day movie, the great draft day movie, a nod. I think most of his teammates went to his birthday party too.
Yeah, even if they're getting pink, even if he's getting pink cell phone cases, they're still going to his birthday party, which is a good sign. Like if it was within the locker room, I think that to me is a more of a red or pink flag in this case.
They're all the same age. Like I have a high school age daughter. Like kids are just different. It's like it's not our America anymore.
Kids these days. It does feel, at least from like mock draft, from draft props, which obviously our audience is going to be all over. It does feel like the draft really starts at number 2. I would be shocked if the Commanders don't go quarterback. But what do you think they do at quarterback? What do you think they should do at number 2?
No question, quarterback. A new era, new coach, new front office, new ownership. I mean, everything is new in Washington. Why not complete the trifecta there and go for the quarterback? I mean, I don't know if you guys saw this at LSU's pro day last week. Head coach Brian Kelly, he slipped and said he's going to be making plays for Washington next year. I mean, was that a mistake by him? Is it random? Are we just picking things out of thin air? When you combine with that with what Cliff Kingsbury, the new offensive coordinator in Washington, had in Arizona, who pursued Kyler Murray hard, even though they just drafted Josh Rosen, that skill set fits into that offense as much as any quarterback in the class, including Caleb, who Kingsbury actually coached at USC this past year as an assistant. So I think, those guys are on the R-Lads board. They're 1A, 1B. We actually have Jayden Daniels graded slightly above Caleb Williams. So I think that the league is going to view it the same way. It's just going to be what you want to deal with, what you don't want to deal with off the field and with certain play style issues. But I think the draft starts at 3 because Washington's going Jayden.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the markets have reflected that. I think in recent days, we've seen, I think some people tried to map it to Brian Kelly answering a question about Jayden Daniels playing for the Commanders by they clipped it. They isolated the answer. Yeah. And I think they try to credit that, but it does seem like a lot of sources are now coming out saying that Washington, they were really open-minded going into the process. Maybe they've made some more decisions. And I think Jayden Daniels, minus 150 now?
No, I mean, well, you can see DraftKings has Jayden Daniels at number 2 pick at plus 150. So again, so for all these shop around and they jump around plenty. And that's why it's good to get some of these now. Wow. I would definitely add Jayden Daniels if you're getting plus odds right now at number 2 pick overall. I think is a good place to start building that draft prop portfolio, Ryan. We're hearing all this rumblings about the Minnesota Vikings trading up. In my mind, or at least what I've heard rumor wise, is that it's going to be for JJ McCarthy. But what are you hearing? What do you think happens? Is Minnesota on the move for a quarterback?
I think they're undoubtedly on the move for a quarterback. I mean, watching Kirk Cousins go to Atlanta, this is what reminds me of what the Rams did a few years ago. And coincidentally, Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Vikings, joined the Rams in 2020. Jared Goff is playing quarterback. He sees that the offense is good, but it's not good enough. It's limited. That next following offseason, they trade for Matthew Stafford. They win a Super Bowl immediately. And that arm talent that they had under center is similar to what we're seeing here in this situation. Kirk Cousins brought this team to a certain level, but it was limited. So they watch him walk, even though they don't have a plan B in place yet. And now they're looking at the next 2 quarterbacks in this draft class, JJ McCarthy, Drake Maye. Who do we want? Who do we prefer? And Drake Maye is the arm talent guy. He's the guy that has the size. He's the best pocket passer in this group. There are plenty of things that need to be cleaned up mechanically, consistency with ball placement on simple throws. He has a lot of what I would call missed layups on the football field, just throws that you can't miss as a pro quarterback. But you rewind back to his redshirt freshman season in 2022. I mean, it was one of the best we've ever seen out of the ACC as a dual threat. So I think the upside of a Drake Maye is much higher than JJ McCarthy. And I do think you can make an argument that McCarthy does bring a higher floor to the table. But that's not what worked in Los Angeles. They went for the home run and Matthew Stafford. It worked out right away. And I think that's going to kind of be sticking in kind of Kevin O'Connell's head.
As you were describing this, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're going to send those 2 picks to San Diego, AKA Los Angeles for Justin Herbert. No, I mean, the Maye thing too, I was actually listening to a thing about him, and he was a 3-sport athlete. He was not focused on playing quarterback like a lot of these kids early on. So perhaps there's even more development because like you mentioned, he's a young guy. So
yeah, no, I mean, Maye is pretty interesting. So if Drake Maye ends up with Minnesota, does Minnesota have to trade up to the number 3 pick, you think? Because that's the other thing. Like, I would imagine the Patriots are going to go quarterback, but maybe they think it's a 2 quarterback draft. And with Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels off the board, maybe they'll say, hey, we need a lot of stuff. Why not trade down? Maybe they like JJ McCarthy, and you could imagine the New England accent pronouncing JJ McCarthy for years after years. But do they have to trade up to 3 to the Patriots to get Drake Maye? What do you think? How does Minnesota get Drake Maye?
I mean, this is where it gets tough. And, the recent trade that they made to acquire 11 and 23 in the first round of this draft, it gives them options that other teams that might trade up for a quarterback cannot. The Giants don't have 2 firsts in this draft. The Broncos, the Raiders, the Saints, even they don't have the ammunition that Minnesota has. So I think they're in the driver's seat right now. You see how the first 2 picks go. You have an honest conversation with New England. New England would have nothing to hide from Minnesota, saying like, hey, if we both want the same quarterback, you guys get them because we're sitting all the way back here. But if you are trying to rebuild your roster with new head coach, new front office, a whole new era of New England Patriots football, what do you want? You want a lot of premium draft picks. And if you can get 2 of them in this draft, in a draft, mind you, that the 2 biggest needs outside of quarterback for New England are what? It's tackle and wide receiver. Yeah. It's the 2 deepest positions in this draft. So if you're going to be sitting at 11 and 23, and probably that won't be enough, they'll probably have to give a future one as well to move up. That's how you start a rebuild. And everything I hear from Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf, the new GM there, they're going to do this they want as many assets as possible. Yes, the quarterback is most important, but we're also talking about an organization that has had a decent amount of success without a first-round quarterback. And when they did use a draft pick on a first-round quarterback, they fell on their face. So I don't think New England, yes, they need a quarterback, but I do see them potentially punting the quarterback decision to next year and just acquire all these assets. So, it's going to be a really interesting 3 through 6 in this draft. That's where I think this is going to get dicey. Do I think they need to trade up to number 3? No, I do think it's possible New England would rather go for the blue chip wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors.
Now, okay. So if we're thinking Drake Maye maybe goes,
Robert Kraft taking a Marvin Harrison is just perfect drama.
There's certainly, great revenge for Colts fans.
Just dad wearing the Patriots jersey, rooting for his son. Come on.
Well, but then, I mean, if you're a Patriots fan, and I'm thinking of our buddy Boston Capper, huge Pats fan, who always hated the draft because Bill always trades dad. He's gonna get some, guard from North Dakota State that no one's heard of. So now they have the 3rd pick overall. There's some interesting quarterbacks. They're talking themselves into Drake Maye. They're talking themselves into JJ McCarthy. They trade down. I could just see Patriots Nation being so upset. So If we think Drake Maye goes to Minnesota, and I struggle to find Drake Maye odds right now, and maybe these like latest rumblings are kind of pulling his number off the board. If you find him, Ryan, feel free to toss him in.
I'll pull some stuff up here.
But so if we think Drake Maye goes to Minnesota, I've heard from JJ McCarthy's camp that they feel pretty good that he's not going to go past 6, and that the two teams interested in him are the Vikings and the Giants, or at least the teams that have shown the most interest. Now, who knows? It's Lion season. Everyone's playing it close to the vest. Maybe teams are playing people in the McCarthy camp. You never know. But if we think Minnesota takes Drake Maye, did the Giants take JJ McCarthy? And if not, who takes JJ McCarthy? Because his prices are all over the place, and you might be able to find some value if you can figure out the landing spot on JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy, it's funny, when he came out, when he declared for the draft, I had not watched all his film from 2023. I didn't truly evaluate him. I watched his games as a fan on TV. And yeah. I said day 2, most likely. And the more I watch, the more I like. And that seems to be the theme of a few others that I talked to as well, that you kind of fall in love with his tape when you really do the deep dive, but you really do have to watch a lot of tape because he wasn't asked to do a lot. So it just takes a little extra time. And I think that's where some evaluators have fallen short. You just don't have the time to watch as much as you need to there. Are the Giants going to take him at 6? That is such an interesting situation. I mean, how did you guys spend your Easter Sunday? Because he spent his Easter Sunday working out privately with the Giants in New Jersey. So there's something going on. There's that, and they've been putting a lot of work in with the quarterback since the fall. Now, here's the question that needs to be answered. When Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll arrived to New York, they declined the 5th-year option of Daniel Jones. A punch to the stomach. Previous regime drafted him. Things had not been going well. He goes out. He wins a playoff game. All right. Then the Giants, Brian Daboll, Joe Schoen, they signed him to the richest contract in franchise history. Then he goes out and plays in just 6 games this past year. 2 different injuries, one to his neck, one to his ACL. And it was probably one of the worst 3 offensive situations in the entire league behind that offensive line. Andrew Thomas goes down week 1 while trying to chase down a guy that blocked a field goal. And this is horrible. It just got worse and worse every week. And
this is a great recap. I'm loving this.
I did read a eulogy from Mark Lewinsky after that first game. It was a bad start to the season.
Well, so just hopping in on the odds, and this is again why you got to look around, because FanDuel has it priced pretty differently than DraftKings right now. FanDuel has it Minnesota plus 105, Pats plus 340, Commanders plus 380, Giants plus 450, Broncos.
That's for McCarthy.
Yeah, this is for McCarthy. And then on the DraftKings side, Vikings favorite, Giants plus 275, Commanders plus 275, Patriots plus 350, Broncos plus 550. Do we think there's any chance the Broncos end up with JJ McCarthy?
I'll give you a hard no on that. And I'm going to tell you why. One thing I know about Sean Payton is how much he values hand size. And I know it sounds silly. There was a lot of talk with Kenny Pickett, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. When those guys came out, hands aren't big enough. It's worked out for 2 of those 3. Sean Payton is big on hand size. And if you want to go back and rewind to the quarterbacks that he's played with, that he's drafted, that he's traded for, that he's signed in free agency, all big hands. McCarthy is 9 inches. That's on the small side. Is it a big deal? Do I think
that's pretty big by my standards?
Yeah.
9 inches. That's a big hand. Are you sure, David?
Yeah. I mean, most quarterbacks are 9.5 plus. And, I think the quarterback that matches up most with hand size, skill set, and the experience that Sean Payton does value is Bo Nix.
Okay.
That's where I think Bo Nix is going to end up. I think it's going to be Denver, and I think they're sitting pretty in that a team that just gave up so many assets for Russell Wilson. They just don't have that much to get. They're going to sit tight and just wait for Bo Nix to fall into their lap. I think at 12 overall. So where does McCarthy end up? I mean, I could see the Giants. I would say they're the favorite at number 6 overall. I think that's going to have more to do with the medicals of the Giants and Daniel Jones than giving up on him, because they just signed him last year and he's only played in 6 games since. But even in New England, in a trade down, if Minnesota is their trading partner, New England could make another move up to where Tennessee, Atlanta, Chicago are to get that JJ McCarthy nab.
Yeah, Bo Nix right now -135 to go to the Broncos, -150 over on DraftKings to go to the Broncos. So seems like the market kind of agreeing with your consensus. But on the other side, I mean, JJ McCarthy to the Giants at +450, I feel like is a pretty good price if we're thinking it shakes out like we're thinking.
I've been last month. I think I've been on the fact that they're going to take a receiver first.
And that's a good transition here. We've been talking a bunch of quarterbacks. It does feel like first two spots at least pretty much lock them in 100% that they both go to quarterback. Now 3 could go to quarterback either with the Pats or with someone trading up to that 3 spot. But who do you think is the first non-quarterback drafted? It seems like Marvin Harrison, probably that guy, but it seems like it's not 100% locked that he's the first receiver drafted. What's your handle on that situation?
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time that I've had more than 2 wide receivers that I project to the number 1 level in the NFL. When I say number 1, there's only a dozen of these guys in the NFL. I'm talking true number 1 blue chip wide receiver, and the top 3 in this class all have that final grade from our staff, from our reports, and it's going to come down to what flavor receiver you want. That's where Arizona looks like they're the first team that could take one, if not New England at 3. And if you look into the offense that they want to run, the long-term projection, I do think it's going to come off as Marvin Harrison number 1, and then Rome Odunze number 2, Malik Neighbors number 3. I think the consensus right now, you guys probably have the numbers in front of you, is that Malik Neighbors is number 2. But Odunze just has, I mean, he had a historic season when you're talking about contested catch rate, 77% contested catch rate. We haven't seen a receiver do that since 2018, and that was Jacoby Myers. Who was in a lot of contested situations because he was slow. He ran a 4.6. Odunze is 6'3", runs a 4.45, plays at 220 pounds, and has that Larry Fitzgerald, Devontae Adams type ability in traffic. And that kind of talent, to me, you just can't pass on. So I think it's going to come off Harrison, Odunze, Neighbors.
That's interesting because now the second receiver drafted, those markets aren't out yet, but if you look at the pricing of the first receiver drafted, it's Harrison's a pretty big favorite right now. Then Neighbors, then Odunze. So if the second receiver market opens up there, you'll probably get a decent price on Odunze as the second receiver.
Yeah, my thoughts on the Giants is I like Odunze. I think the Giants value speed too much to pass on Neighbors if he's there. If receiver is the option they want to go, it does seem like they're going to go Neighbors, but. Who knows? Odunze looked really good on the field playing actual football. So
sometimes people forget that.
What Neighbors does at a special elite level is after catch ability, and that's what a lot of teams are going for now. I mean, Neighbors broke more tackles than Odunze and Harrison combined by, I think it was over 16 or 17 missed tackles over the past 2 years combined. I mean, he's just on a different level. And some of these, underneath passing games, get the ball out quick, let these guys make plays. I think Neighbors is going to be the guy in those rooms. So it can really go in any direction.
Perfect for Drew Lock. It lines up with Drew Lock's strength. So I'm looking forward to Neighbors Lock.
They're going quarterback, Ryan. Just talking to David here, I think they're going quarterback. I know. I mean, if you look at the Giants odds, they are favored to take a receiver first, but
it's close.
I don't know. Quarterback, I think, could be calling them. What about the defensive side of the ball? Do you have a consensus here for who you think is going to be the first defensive player taken?
So I think it's going to be Dallas Turner. And to me, it comes down to Dallas Turner or Jared Verse, the 2 top edge defenders in this class. Jared Verse, to me, he's going to turn 24 in November of his rookie season. Dallas Turner is going to be 21 his entire rookie season. And they're both considered young guys in our language, the 3 guys that are talking about him right now. But in the NFL, I mean, that tells me that Dallas Turner is still pretty early on the curve when it comes to developing that strength and power. And that is the biggest red flag in his game. But when you're talking about sheer explosion and a get off and Will Anderson type impact, the defensive rookie of the year, who Dallas Turner played with at Alabama, who Dallas Turner followed around like he was his little brother at Alabama. I've been told that coaches have fallen in love with this kid in interviews and all his background checks. The kid is all ball all the time. And with that talent, I mean, he ran a 4.46 at the 40, jumped out of the building, and he's been among the nation's leaders in pressures each of the past 2 years in the SEC. I mean, that just screams, top tier edge defender to me. So I think he'll be the number one edge guy coming off the board.
He's 6'4", Sean. He's got almost a 7-foot wingspan.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It's remarkable.
Those long arms just could eat up some defenders. So sorry, you said Dallas Turner, him to be the first defensive player drafted. I'm seeing that at -190. But who is the other guy you thought might have a shot?
Jared
Verse. Okay, yeah, he's 12-1. That's kind of interesting. If we're looking for an underdog. Is there a team up there in the top stretch that you think could go defense? I mean, to me, when I'm going to be formulating my mock drafts and talking to one of the guys last year, most accurate mock draft on the internet, no big deal. But and a lot of it is, and I don't have the scouting or sources. A lot of it's just kind of like gut feel mixed with some gambling takes here.
That's awesome, man. I love that.
Letting the market kind of tell you where stuff's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the Chargers, to me, I think that's going to be the key to cracking this draft and cracking a mock draft, because Harbaugh is such an unknown as far as what he's going to do in this draft. We saw him basically clean house with the receivers. Is that because he's making room for his own receiver, or is that because he says, I don't care about your damn receivers. I'm going to throw the ball 15 times a game with Justin Herbert. I'm going to smash it down your throat, and I'm going to totally change the game. Like, you could tell me any sort of, I think, without exception to like kicker, punter, that kind of stuff, any position to me for Harbaugh, I think is fairly open. What do you see the Chargers doing? They're like a tough nut to crack, I think, as far as the draft goes.
They are. I mean, we can assume they're going to stay put at 5, but I mean, Harbaugh's been trying pretty hard to sell JJ McCarthy to anyone.
That's what I was saying to Kramer. Kramer's like, maybe they're going to draft JJ McCarthy and trade Justin Herbert. I go, yeah, maybe, but also maybe he just knows if I get someone to draft JJ McCarthy ahead of me, that gives me one more shot at a guy that I like. I mean, you look at the odds for the number 5 overall pick, and again, there's certainly candidates for trading down as well. Chargers need a bunch, but it's like Malik Neighbors 2-1, Harrison +250, JJ McCarthy +430. I don't know. It could kind of go a bunch of different ways.
Sean, quarterback is 150-1 for the Chargers first pick. If my harebrained idea where they trade Herbert for the 2 1s, maybe a future one, then they draft.
And my thing is, if you're going to do that trade, you probably would have done it earlier when you had multiple bidders. But again, I think Harbaugh is going to do things his way. He's living in an RV down near the ocean, so who knows what he's cooking up in that RV right now. What do you think the Chargers are going to do? I think they're kind of a tough one to handicap here.
Yeah, I mean, if wide receiver is I'm going to stay there. I think that they're no doubt. That's where the favorite should be, but Harbaugh values trench play as much as any coach in football. And Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame, kind of fits in exactly with what he looks for in offensive lineman. And if you look at he really rated the transfer portal over his past couple of years at Michigan, just trying to, almost their entire offensive line is going to get drafted. They're actually going to have their entire starting offensive line drafted this year and one of their backups, Trent Jones. That I think he's going to go in one of those two directions. Rashawn Slater is an all-pro left tackle. At right tackle, Trey Pipkins has been back and forth. But the pressure that has come from Justin Herbert's right tackle over the two of the past 3 years has been top 5 in the NFL. And I think the more tape they watch, the more they're going to know that Trey Pipkins is just not that guy. And Joe Alt is a smash mouth run blocker as well. So I think if they don't go wide receiver, it's not going to be on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be offensive line.
Yeah, and again, but the two groups that are the deepest this year, offensive lineman currently -125 to be the Chargers' first pick. Wide receiver +155.
Well, okay, now hear me out. Is there any value? DK is putting a line. First non-quarterback selected. Joe Alt is 10-1. What if Chargers stay put at 5? So, a team Patriots go quarterback at 3, or another team trades up, and then someone also trades up with the Cardinals, who are probably looking to trade down. I'm getting some nodding from David, and then we get the first 4 picks are quarterbacks. Chargers stay put because no one's trading up for Bo Nix or Michael Penix, and then they go offensive lineman Joe Alt, who seems like the consensus number 1 O lineman at 10-1. I think that's kind of a fun dog. How say you on that one?
That's a great value bet right there, because I even think Arizona is somewhat in play for a tackle at number 4.
Yeah.
If they put.
Yeah, you're right. Because if they stay at 4 and it just goes first 3 quarterbacks, they can't get someone to trade up, or they don't think it makes sense. Them going Joe Alt actually makes a ton of sense. I understand why people are linking them to receiver, but you got Kyler Murray, a guy, smaller type of guy who's had issues staying healthy. No one's going to give you shit for drafting more offensive linemen. And you got Gannon coming from the Eagles system, which also values offensive line trench play. So I think there's a couple different outs for Joe Alt there in first non.
It's definitely not the Penn State tackle. Like, we're confident on that.
Well,
at this point.
I'll defer to David. I haven't done a ton of research yet in the O-line market.
The gap, it's gone from where they were kind of close in this market to now, like you mentioned, Alt 10-1, and he's 75-1 maybe. So it seems like the market's telling me it was a bad question, but what do we think?
Yeah, David? any chance Joe Alt? Yeah,
definitely not a bad question. Alt has some of the non-negotiable traits that Fashanu will never have. Just the sheer size. He actually is a better athlete as well. He tested better anyway. Fashanu was the guy at this time last year where we thought he was going to be the no-doubt blue goose left tackle because of how good he looked in just a short amount of time in his first year as a starter at Penn State. But when you really broke these guys down, this is where projecting talent to the NFL is not always the same answer as who's a better college football player. It's just a different beast on Sundays against the NFL. And Alt is he's set up differently physically. I think he's going to be able to handle NFL power at a much higher level than a guy like Fashanu, who I like too. He's a first rounder all day. But Alt he has a little bit more combination of power, speed, quickness, redirect than Fashanu.
That would be the ultimate dark horse for the Giants. Just say fuck it and take another tackle.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly interesting, Ryan. What about, we've been hearing a ton of buzz about Brock Bowers. Again, a tackle that is going to be obviously in the first round.
Tight
end who's going to be in the first round. Maybe teams are a little gun shy after what we've seen or haven't seen, maybe from Kyle Pitts. You can blame it on the Falcons quarterback and Arthur Smith. I'm sure a lot of it, but right now the Jets are the favorite at +170. You got the Colts +470, Broncos 9-1, Chargers 10-1. Again, Harbaugh could do anything. Bears 10-1, Bengals are 10-1. I was kind of in on the idea of the Bengals earlier on in the process, just because I could see them wanting any sort of explosive playmaker, but it doesn't seem like he's going to get that far, and it does seem like more stuff is linking him higher up on the draft board. What are you hearing about Brock Bowers, and where do you think he might end up?
I have the Jets circled. So, I don't think there's any surprise there that he would be the favorite, only because the Jets are obviously just going all in on this run it back to Aaron Rodgers situation. I mean, they fell flat on their face last year in more ways than one. And instead of regrouping and coming up with a different plan, they just threw all of the remaining chips into the middle of the table. They keep signing linemen that get hurt. They keep signing wide receivers that get hurt. And I think Rodgers is pulling the strings there. I don't think he's actually making the personnel decisions, but I think he has more control over that front office staff, because they feel like it's a 1 or 2 year shot with him from this point forward. And Brock Bowers, based on those 3 receivers, will likely be off the board, the top 3 that we've talked about. And Bowers is the next best offensive playmaker, and this is now a team that has solved at least a big part of the offensive line issues with the signings of John Simpson and Tyron Smith, who might be on the field for half a year. And now you got Mike Williams for the outside. You have Garrett Wilson, who can play inside out. They do have a couple of usable tight ends. Tyler Conklin is one that stands out, but Brock Bowers is best used in an offensive system where he doesn't have a true position. You can line him up in the backfield. You can line him out wide in the slot, put his hand in the dirt. He's a Robert Saleh type guy with how physical and how tough and how aggressive he plays. I mean, this is the kind of guy that got a tightrope surgery on his ankle so that he can play, in a bowl game that didn't matter at the end of the year. And that's in an era where everyone's opting out of bowl games, so you get ready for the draft. And I think that's going to speak volumes to the Jets front office. And, show Aaron Rodgers that, hey, we're doing everything we can to support you. Please don't go on Pat McAfee's show and throw us under the bus. And we'll go from there.
He does have them hostage. I mean, say what you will about Aaron Rodgers. He understands his leverage in the situation. Like, hey guys, you're stuck with me. I was hurt last year. You got to do whatever I want. But yeah, I mean, Brock Bowers' ultimate all-in move for the Jets, which it certainly makes sense from that point of view.
Hopefully, someone else is going to have to tell Jeremy Ruckert's dad. He got really excited when they drafted his son. Big Jets fan. Going to lose out on this. It's going to remind me a little bit of the Daniel Bellinger dad situation for the Giants, where when they signed Daniel Waller, he's like, not so fast. You're gonna have to earn that spot.
Bellinger still hanging around.
He's the starter.
Darren Waller retired, so he's looking pretty good there, or at least seemingly. Did he officially announce his retirement? Okay,
he's really making.
He's trending towards retiring. We talked a little Bo Nix. You like Denver there as a landing spot for Mr. Nix. What about Michael Penix? Of course, Washington quarterback. Has some injury issues and up there age wise, I think would probably be the two biggest knocks on Michael Penix. What do you make of his game? Is he going to get in the first round? Do you have any potential suitors for Michael Penix?
I think when you're just talking about pure arm talent and the ability to control the football and get the ball out, drop the ball in the bucket down the field, I think Penix arm talent, just the ability to throw the ball, is as good as any quarterback in the class. I'm not going to say it's the best, but I don't think anyone is head and shoulders above his ability to throw the ball. I saw it live in the Senior Bowl. I saw it at the combine on film. It comes out different, and sometimes you really have to be in person to see it. But, I think, I'll be honest with you, I think the lefty aesthetic gets some people to not fully buy into what he is as a passer. And as silly as it sounds, we are so programmed, confirmation bias, right?
Yeah.
You watch quarterbacks with the right hand, and there's guys that do this on YouTube now. They flip it, so you can watch.
I'll be honest. I've been a Tua hater for a long time, but when they flipped his highlights and he was throwing righty, I'm like, something about that. Maybe I was wrong on him. They're really especially with Tua, the arm mechanics just seem so unnatural. But I like what I see on Penix, and I think. He played well at a pretty high level for a bunch of games. I feel like that's gotta matter.
He's only 6 months older than Jayden Daniels too. It's not like he's an old man.
Yeah, I think maybe some of the leg injury stuff. But do you have a team? Do you think he goes to the first round?
Yeah, I mean, I do have him going in the first round. I am asked to put together one mock per year, and I do it with trades. And I did have him going to New England after trading down with Minnesota. So as high as number 11, I had him going to that 11-23 range with one of those two picks. I mean, it's tough. If you want a first round quarterback, you can't just keep waiting. I mean, it did work with the Ravens, right? They picked Hayden Hurst in the first round, and then they traded back 32 overall for Lamar. So you can see something like that, but more often than not, if you want a guy, you're going to have to go up and get him. And New England was a team that I feel like fit in with what the team is saying publicly about what they want to do with their offensive system and modernize it. And his offensive coordinator is now working with the Seahawks. And this is now an offensive system that we're going to see. They had a very different offensive scheme at Washington. And now we're going to start to see at least flavors or parts of it in the NFL with his play caller with Seattle. And that's what the NFL is now. It's almost an extension of how things are spread out in college football with the passing game. So I like New England. And in round 2, I would keep track of Las Vegas. That's a team that I think could go after a quarterback. They have Gardner Minshew. Aiden O'Connell just screams NFL back, a career backup to me, even though he flashed a little bit last year with their run that they had after Antonio Pierce took over. But Michael Penix to Las Vegas makes a lot of sense if he escapes round 1.
That's interesting. So, and it sounds like if New England's involved, maybe a little bit of a trade down, and this market isn't out there yet, but Michael Penix to be drafted ahead of Bo Nix, Ryan, I think we would probably get a good price on that.
He's going to be favored. I think
Nix would be favored over.
No, I think Penix will be favored over Nix.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think most people. It seems like the Broncos are one of the few teams that love Bo Nix.
Okay.
That it's that short area accuracy that reminds Peyton of Drew Brees and everything you can accomplish if you put your heart into it. I kind of hope for Penix that he gets paired with. I mean, there's a chance he goes to the same team and drafts Odunze. if there is one of these teams that decides to roll the dice on taking the quarterback later, grabbing the elite blue chip receiver, that'd be pretty dope. Get reunited with your guy. To me, I'm sitting here. I hear what you're saying about the Raiders, and I'm like, that's a good point. Also Spencer Rattler, like one of these teams, like Spencer Rattler is going to surprise someone.
He was on my list of guys to bring up to you. What is your take on Spencer Rattler? Any teams, any thoughts on where he goes, and just your take on scouting him? Because the fact that he had, went someplace, kind of was humbled a little bit and then came back. I do like that as a prospect. How say you on Rattler?
Probably, like Penix, one of the best throwers in the class. I don't love the body. I don't love the size. It's not. I mean, we do see a lot of quarterbacks now in that 6'6" range now, so that might get a little overblown. We saw Bryce Young get drafted last year, number 1 overall at his size. So, and basically, you're not allowed to touch the quarterbacks anymore. But what Rattler, I just see something's missing with him, and I have felt that way since his early days at Oklahoma. That the confidence is one thing, which he has plenty of. If you go back and watch that QB1 documentary on Netflix back when he was in high school,
he should have never done that.
Stay away if you haven't watched it. But there's things where he just holds onto the ball a little too long because he thinks he can make every throw, every read. And, it works occasionally, but the South Carolina offensive line did him no favors. But I also think he was equally responsible for the heavy pressure amounts that it just won't work in the NFL. Whenever you see quarterbacks scramble backwards over and over, they're going to have to fix something at the next level because the D tackles are faster than the linebackers from college once you get to the next level. So I think Rattler is going to be drafted day 2. I think no shot at round 1, but he will be one of those guys that misses out on a quarterback early on that said, hey, we'll roll the dice day 2, pay a much lesser salary to this quarterback, and hopefully run with that rookie window the way the Seattle Seahawks did with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, make him earn it there. All right. David, appreciate you hanging on here so late. Appreciate all the time. Before we let you go though, is there one sort of kind of bold prediction, either maybe a big trade, someone trading up, a guy getting into the first round that no one saw coming? There's always a couple draft day surprises. That's why, the draft is so fun. Is there any that are kind of, on your back boiler that you think could come to fruition for the draft this year?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'm having a hard time deciding here, but I'll give you one. I think Brandon Ayuk's going to be traded. From San Francisco, just economically with what that team has coming up down the pipeline, how that offensive system works. Deebo Samuel's already being paid, and he's the guy. I think if you put Shanahan in a dark room and say, "Hey, gun to your head, who you choosing?" I think he's going after the yard after catch guy in Deebo. And with the way the league is trending right now, with young receivers coming in and just making an immediate impact at a position where these guys are now making 10, 11, 12% of your salary cap. Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, these cap numbers for these guys are just proportionally to what the team is allowed to spend is just getting increased year after year. But at the same time, you're seeing these cheap wide receivers come in and produce at a similar level that I think some of these teams are going to start doing what the Titans did a few years ago and ship out their number 1 wide receiver to a team like the Eagles that's ready to compete right now. And I look at a team like the Colts and I say, hey, they could use a Brandon Ayuk type and they can use the money there because they are paying a rookie contract at quarterback. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I could see coming. I don't know if it'll be the Colts, but I do think Ayuk's going to get traded draft weekend for a draft pick in a draft where the Niners will just try to pick up his replacement.
Ayuk's a great route runner. Ladd McConkey, also a great route runner. Would he not be a perfect San Francisco 49er, Sean?
Yep.
Love it. David, again, appreciate the time. Make sure you follow David on X at rlads_sy SY there, and rlads.com, your home for the draft guide. They just launched a YouTube channel, ton of great videos over there at rlads football over on YouTube. Make sure you dive in over there. I mean, sleeper RB prospects, hidden gems in the NFL draft. So if you're getting ready for the NFL draft, you got to check out our lads. David, really appreciate the time, man.
Thank you, guys. Sorry about those sound issues. I'm embarrassed, but I'm glad it worked out.
No worries. Glad we worked it out.
Cheers.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Kramer. That was awesome. Got a bunch of great info from David, and I
got some notes.
Yes, took down a bunch of notes. Bunch of big games coming up. Not only NFL right around the corner, but of course we got the Final Four. We got NBA. So much. I mean, even the Masters, wherever you're going to live game events, you got to go to gametime.co. Use our promo code SGPN, get you $20 off your first purchase. Love me some Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, your go-to app for last minute tickets. Baseball is back. Perfect time to talk to get in and watch these games live. They're really, especially baseball, like it's such a good experience heading out to the ballpark. You get the last minute tickets, flash deals, the zone deals, the low price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, whatever. Yeah, they got you covered, man. Love the ease, love the convenience. So head over to gametime.co. Use the promo code SGPN for $20 off your purchase. And we're also brought to you by Unified. Whether you're a world-class athlete or a world-class podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being, proper recovery for top-notch performance. Again, highly recommend you guys checking out Unified Healing. It's a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers provided by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of EE System yet, you'll want to listen up. The technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, rejuvenation. Whether you're here in LA or hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to the center is easy. Most importantly, affordable. Love me some Unified Healing, and interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself, go to unifiedhealing.com, and that's UNIFYD healing.com/SGPN. Get you set up over there. Check them out. I think you'll check it out for yourself. I think you will enjoy it. Again, of course, no material testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System. Kramer, we got our best bets. Going to close the show out with those, but before we get to that, what is, and it was fun talking to David. Felt like I got a bunch of good info.
I was gonna say, if you're on the Patreon sheets, there is a tab in the futures sheet that basically just has some notes from the conversation.
Oh, okay, of stuff that he liked. Of the stuff we talked about, what is a bet that you didn't have in your portfolio that you're probably going to be tossing in after the conversation?
It's funny, Sean, because we talked about it earlier, but I made a note to go get more. But I do think it's the Bo Nix to Denver.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. I do think.
Well, he's got that hand size nugget, which I really liked as well.
The hand size nugget. I think you also have just if you overlay the game, right? But what was Bo Nix's strength when he kind of recovered in Oregon? Well, he was really accurate, close to the field. People say low A dot. Well, what did Drew Brees have at the end? A comically low A dot. I guess if you're looking for a high floor, low ceiling, second round kind of prospect, you would at least want him to look like that. And so it also shows the arrogance of Sean Payton. I'll put whatever. Slowly, Sean Payton is going to turn into Coach K for football for me, I think.
For me, anyway. and I like.
But so Bo Nix to the Broncos.
Yeah, I like Bo Nix to the Broncos. David made a really good case for it, and just from what we've talked about previously, it does seem like that's kind of where they're going to end up, or where he's going to end up. I mean, when we talked through that first non-quarterback selected, Joe Alt at 10-1, to me feels like a very good price, especially when we kind of factored in that, hey, it might be the Cardinals, it might be. I mean, I wouldn't even put the Patriots completely out of it. And then, you obviously have the Chargers as well.
It's a good angle, I think. Yeah.
You have a couple outs.
I will say also, as he was talking about Kevin O'Connell being there when they dealt Goff and brought in Stafford, it did make me think, like, holy shit, what if they do deal Herbert for two first round picks this year, one next year? Harbaugh's able to rebuild the team the way he likes.
I guess
I totally see your point of his value being depressed now.
I don't. The idea of them,
but it was like, oh my god.
The idea of them trading Herbert, Ryan, to me isn't crazy. The idea of trading him now is a little bit crazy to me.
But maybe it's to wait to see that McCarthy's on the board for them when they pick at 5. Even like, what if there's something crazy like that? Like maybe what if the plan is he wants 3 first rounders this year, and more next year to rebuild this team, reset onto a rookie quarterback contract.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, if you wanted those first round picks, your chances of getting them went way down if you waited this long.
Well, no, because the Vikings are now a team with 2 first round picks this year and additional picks next year. So I like that. I guess that was my point. Who else had 2 first round picks this year other than the Bears? To counter your point, I still agree his value probably was greater then, but now there is a team with 2 first. What if Harbaugh said to the Vikings, "Go get me 2 first round picks this year and whatever else next year, and this is what the terms we'll have in place. And when the pick comes up 5, if the guy I want is there, we'll make the deal." That would be crazy, right?
I don't think it's Chargers 150-1 to go quarterback. I don't think that's a good price. Is that what I would say? Is it possible? Yes, but I don't think you're getting a good price at 150-1.
I feel like I need to bet on it just out of principle.
Oh yeah, I mean Ryan, it's better. I like it. I think it has more of a possibility than your
just the way he
Caleb Williams not going number one.
Just the way he was describing the Kevin O'Connell being with a team that brought in a veteran, big armed veteran. He said big armed veteran quarterback. What is Justin Herbert? He's a big armed veteran quarterback.
But why would if the Vikings had a shot to get Justin Herbert, wouldn't they be falling over themselves to try and get this done now?
Yeah, maybe they need to give up more. Who knows? Maybe the first step was, well, you need 2 first rounders this year. Now they're telling them what the next fucking step in the scavenger hunt is. I liked talking to David. That feels like something we could do again.
He was great. And again, make sure you check out our lads. Closing it out here with our best bets for Tuesday, April 2nd, of course, brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Head over to HOFBets.com. Use the promo code SGPN. Get your 50% off your first month. You got player props, player prop parlays, game parlays. I know producer Josh going on his heater, talking how Hall of Fame Bets has made him an independently wealthy man. We're going to lose Josh, Ryan, because of all the money he's won over at Hall of Fame Bets. And not only that, but he also got some nice savings because he used the promo code SGPN. Get your 50% off your first month.
I'm pretty sure we aren't the first thing Josh is responsible for that he would drop if he suddenly became independently wealthy.
Yeah, Josh. He likes the producer lifestyle. Josh loves the action. I would can 100% vouch for that.
He likes the boots on the ground at the circuit at all given times.
Best bets for April 2nd, Ryan. What do you got for the good folks?
Oh, we got men's basketball. I don't know if you've been following the NIT show.
No, I haven't. What do we check?
Well, we're down to the final 4, and which means we're at a neutral site. Guess where they're playing this game? In the great state of Indiana, Hinkle Fieldhouse.
Okay.
Utah versus Indiana State. Steph Blurry, Kareem Abdul. They're only laying 3.5. Are you kidding me? This Indiana State team at home again. I don't care about Utah. This is a bet on whoever Indiana State was going to be playing. Lay the 3.5. And then on the other side, Sean, do you know who's back? While Seton Hall is making a statement for the Big East and we love teams from Jersey. Do you know who is back? Hailing from the SEC. It's the Georgia Bulldogs. And Blue Kane is getting minutes again, coming off a game where he dropped 17 in the round of 8, aka the quarterfinals. Take Georgia plus the 4.5, Sean. And if you're feeling like you want to have some extra action, I won't stop you from sprinkling the money line.
Ooh,
there you go. Little 2-pack.
Little 2-pack there, Ryan.
So yeah, Indiana State minus 3.5, Georgia plus 4.5.
I also got a men's basketball 2-pack for you. I'm going to the association. First up, we got the Mavs at the Warriors. Warriors, one of the streakier teams in the NBA. When they're hot, they're hot. It seems like they're pretty hot right now. They're 23-15-1 against the spread after a win, coming off another win. Klay Thompson's been playing well in his 6-man role. And the Warriors have actually been playing pretty good defense. Now the Mavs have been good on the road, but I think the Warriors only laying 1 at home. This is a good spot. I mean, they're playing essentially for their playoff lives here. Houston is nipping at their heels. Houston's 2 games back, but they're stuck here right now. The Warriors in the 10 spot for that play-in tournament. So yeah, give me the Warriors laying 1 there. On the other side of the conference, we got the Cavs at the Jazz. Jazz have been horrible, seemingly trying to tank here. Cavs just got blown out by the Nuggets. They lost by 29 points. Donovan Mitchell super pissed after the loss. Cleveland pretty good ATS after a loss, 16-11-2. They had some rest and they're coming from Denver, so I don't think the elevation is going to catch them as much. This is a weird schedule spot for the Jazz as well, because they just have one home game in between 2 road games. Mitchell's going to be fired up to get his old team. Cavs laying 11.5 at Utah. It's a big number, but lay it. Cavs laying the big number. Warriors laying the small number for my best bets.
That was cut to like 15 years ago when I was writing horrible software to scrape the internet and try to figure out how to bet on the NBA. The Utah situational spots became very interesting, and one of them was that what you just described. The Utah's in town for a game, in and out, like good fade job. Congratulations to you. Only happens a couple times a season.
Yes. Well, I'm fading Utah. I'm not taking.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When they're coming in and out of town like that.
Okay.
Them. Yeah. I'm saying it only happens a couple times a year. So mark your calendar next year.
Got the calendar marked, Orion. Hey, again, we got our Final Four picks episode airing tomorrow. You're gonna want to tune in for that. We got a special guest besides Colby. I think you guys are gonna want to tune in. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. YouTube.com/sportsgamingpodcast. Still got a little merch madness left. 15% off everything in the store, including the zebra print pants. Promo code madness, 15% off everything. And MLB is back. Make sure you check out the featured podcast this week. The MLB Gambling Podcast. Moonoff, Mal, and the crew are back, grinding it out in the MLB streets. Right?
I got to be honest, Malcolm turning into a little bit of a SGPN sex symbol.
Oh, really?
I just did. What are you basing that on? He's doing the bath. He's doing the bath shots. He's wearing stylish clothes. He's doing that thing where the camera angle is a little beneath him, so we get that kind of very intimate shot. Like maybe we're about to get an OnlyFans. Imagine a Malcolm OnlyFans where he just reads his baseball picks from the bathtub.
Well, Ryan, that's certainly an idea.
Pay extra for that, honey.
For Malcolm. Appreciate everyone tuning in as always.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
Sean, if the people aren't listening to the MLB show and they're hearing about this bath banter, they're definitely tuning in, at least for one episode.
For the Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green. He's Ryan.
Shout out to football. It's back.
Kramer, let it ride.